Day 35, Psalm 8, 4-8. Prepare. Some days when you read Scripture, you see no special insights, and it leaves you dry. Another time, that very same passage might shake your world. The marvelous, life-changing truths are always there, but some days we're blind to them, and other days we can see. Pray that today would be a day you can see. Open my eyes that I may see wonderful things in your law. Your deepest desire. Anxiety is emotional energy. One of the purposes of anxiety is to give us the energy we need to pray hard about something important. What is the most compelling anxiety in your heart today? Use that energy to cry out to God. Meditate. Who can understand the greatness and nobility of mankind right alongside the unimaginable depravity and evil of mankind? It was man who invented the gas chambers in Auschwitz, and it is man who does things like diving on a hand grenade so his comrades can go rescue those being put in those ovens. Something about mankind is so important that when we are good, it brings sunshine into life. And when we go bad, it is a kind of bad that just seems to rattle the very creation. Why do human actions, good and bad, matter so much? In Psalm 8:4, we see the question, what is man? There are a lot of theories. Biologists point to the human genetic code. Psychologists and sociologists focus on behavioral tendencies. Philosophers will delve into their speculations, but none of them explain the mystery of what man is. Blaise Pascal put it well. He said, "What sort of freak, then, is man? What a novelty, what a monster, what a chaos, what a contradiction, what a prodigy, judge of all things, feeble earthworm, repository of truth, sinkhole of doubt and error, glory and refuse of the universe. Who will unravel this tangle?" Well, the answer is in Psalm 8. What is man that you are mindful of him? The Son of Man that you care for him? You made him a little lower than the heavenly beings, and crowned him with glory and honor. You made him ruler over the works of your hands. You put everything under his feet, all flocks and herds, and the beasts of the field, the birds of the air, and the fish of the seas, all that swim in the paths of the seas. What does that psalm teach you about why human actions are so important? Verse 5, you made him a little lower than the heavenly beings. Most people define humans as being a little higher than the animals. God defines humans as being a little lower than the angels. Secular people look down to the animals for their identity. God teaches us to look toward heaven to define our identity. We are more like angels than we are like animals. Verse 6, you made him ruler over the works of your hands. In Genesis 1:26, then God said, let us make man in our image and our likeness, and let them rule. God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and increase in number and fill the earth and subdue it. Should Christians be environmentalists? There are three kinds of people when it comes to the environment. Those who ruin it, those who rule it, and those who are ruled by it. Most people who call themselves environmentalists want man to be ruled by the creation rather than subduing it. Our mandate is not to stay out of the way of nature, but to rule it and subdue it. This world needs a great deal of organization and cultivation, and that's our job as God's vice regents. Are there some elements of creation in your space that need organization, some part of the creation that it's your job to subdue that's going unsubdued? Ask God what He wants you to do in those areas. What are some implications of all this for your job? In 2 Corinthians 9:10, God is described as He who supplies bread for food. God is the one who supplies bread, and yet there is no naturally occurring bread. All bread in this world is made by humans. Martin Luther said the person who bakes that bread is the mask that God wears when He provides for us. If no one ever cleaned the house, very soon no one would be able to live there and the house would have to be bulldozed. God provides you with a nice place to live, and the mask He wears when He does that providing is the homemaker who cleans your house. God provided all the food in the grocery store, and one of the masks He wore when He provided it was the truck driver who transported it from where it was made to where we could get it. God made the world to be remade by culture makers. Culture is when you take raw materials and create something greater. Those raw materials might be soil and seeds, wood, metal, money, sounds, words, or a million other things. When we take those and organize them into a beneficial state, we are doing God's work. What are the areas where you are the mask God is wearing as He rules this world? Verse 6, you put everything under His feet, all flocks and herds, and the beasts of the field, the birds of the air, and the fish of the seas, all that swim in the paths of the seas. Have you ever accomplished a task and then just stood back for a second and enjoyed the sense of accomplishment? Maybe you don't throw up your arms and shout, I'm the king of the world, but you could. What you're feeling is not really a sense of accomplishment. It's a sense of reigning over the created order and subduing it and cultivating it. It's a sense of doing what you were designed by God to do. That's why it feels good. Ask God what He wants you to rule over and accomplish today. When we rule over the creation, we don't ever want to be like Nebuchadnezzar in Daniel 4, where he said, "Is not this the great Babylon which I have built as the royal residence by my mighty power and for the glory of my majesty?" God punished him severely for that. But on the other hand, we also want to avoid doing what Adam and Eve did in the garden when they failed to act like rulers of the creation. Instead of ruling over the animals, they obeyed one of the animals. They put themselves under the creation's feet, rather than putting the creation under their feet, and that plunged mankind into the fall. So Adam and Eve were punished because they weren't kingly enough, and Nebuchadnezzar was punished because he was too kingly. So what's the balance? Try this. When you do something that gives you a sense of accomplishment, in your mind, spread out your arms and say, "I am the king of the world for God." Do that now in your imagination for all the things you've accomplished recently, big and small. There are elements of the creation that you are supposed to be ruling over that will try to rule over you, like food, or fun, or alcohol, or pills, or money, or sex. When those things rule us, instead of being a little lower than the heavenly beings, we are a little lower than the creation. No created thing should come between us and God. When something in the creation gains control of you, remind yourself, I let these things rule me because it seems like they will make me happy. But I'll have the best happiness when I take my rightful place above those things, not under them. Talk to God about the things you have placed yourself under and ask Him to help you rule them as you should. Pray for others, your church. Think of the various programs and ministries at your church. Pray that God would use all of those to accomplish the greatest of all mankind's tasks, the work of the gospel. Of all the ministries you thought of, which one is nearest to your heart? Ask God to bless that ministry and make it flourish in fruitfulness. Pray for your church what Paul prayed for the Philippian church in Philippians 1, 9-11. Pray that the people's love may abound more and more in knowledge and depth of insight, so that they may be able to discern what is best and may be pure and blameless until the day of Christ, filled with the fruit of righteousness that comes through Jesus Christ to the glory and praise of God. pray the same for anyone else the Lord has laid on your heart today. Thanksgiving. Delight yourself in the Lord. Let the truths of Psalm 8 sink in until they produce joy in the Lord, then express your gratitude. Thank God especially for crowning you with glory and honor. And for setting you above the creation to cultivate and subdue it and reign over it. Take it with you. Pick one thought from this meditation that you want to carry with you. What can you use as memory cues in the upcoming day to help you bring that thought to mind at least twice more today?